avenant de la jolie Rochelle, mer avenant de la jolie Rochelle, j'ai rencontré trop jolie demoiselle, c'est l'aviron qui le mène, c'est l'aviron qui le mène, oh. Mer avenant de la jolie Rochelle, mer avenant de la jolie Rochelle, j'ai rencontré trop jolie demoiselle, c'est l'aviron qui le mène, c'est l'aviron qui le mène, oh. Avenant de la jolie Rochelle, mer avenant de la jolie Rochelle, j'ai rencontré trop jolie demoiselle, c'est l'aviron qui le mène, c'est l'aviron qui le mène, oh, c'est l'aviron qui le mène.
Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Chicago, in person and at home. I'm Tim Earhart, and I'm honored to lead you in worship this morning, along with Dr. John Rice, our lector, Liz Kreslin, the Director of Lifelong Education, and our music director, Adam O'Dell. The First Unitarian Church has been a home for progressive religion in Chicago and beyond since 1836. The church sits on the western shore of Lake Michigan, south of the Chicago River. Today especially, we honor the indigenous people for whom these are unceded ancestral homelands, as well as the diverse and vibrant indigenous American communities who make their home here today. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation, a community of children and youth and adults, a people of many beliefs and traditions, bound not by the specific list of things that we believe, but by the values we share and the mission we have to grow our souls and to heal the world. Whether you just stepped into this church for the first time or for the 1,000th time, you are welcome here. Whether you believe in God some of the time or none of the time or all of the time, you are welcome here. No matter your race or who you love or how much money you do or don't have, you're welcome here. Now, there are a couple of announcements. This week, there's going to be a Good Life seminar Wednesday, led by Reverend Dave. It's going to be at 6 p.m. in Chris Moore Parlor. It's going to be his discussion of what constitutes a good life. There's also going to be the Engaged Buddhism Practice Group in Chris Moore Parlor this Thursday at 5:30. That's just starting up. Folks should check it out. There are more weekly activities in the bulletin, and everyone should feel welcome to come to coffee hour after service. It's good to be together with you today. Just waiting for our chalice lighter to pop up. So please join me in reading our covenant as we light the chalice. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
song today is going to be number 1069 in the Teal Hymnal, Ancient Mother, 1069 in the Teal Hymnal, Ancient Mother. Please rise in body or spirit. We're going to do a bit of a call and response. I will sing, and then you will repeat after me. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your song. Ancient Mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears. Now we'll sing it all together. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your song. Ancient Mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears.
Our call to worship this morning is number 435 in the Gray Hymnal by Kathleen McTeague, which I share for your reference. We come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude, taking the time to look into one another's faces and see their communion, the reflection of our own eyes. This house of laughter and silence, memory and hope is hallowed by our presence together.
Our centering hymn will be number 123 in your Gray Hymnal, Spirit of Life. That is number 123 in the Gray Hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit for the singing.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the
At this time in our service, I invite forward any young or young at heart who would like to join me and Dr. John Rice for a little language primer today, I think.
There we go.
What do you have for us today, Dr. John?
Well, this is a primer of the Annishinaabe language, and so we're looking at a different way of saying things.
A different way of saying things in the Annishinaabe language.
Language, yes. So the Annishinaabe, those are people who lived here long ago, and they were 3 different tribes. They all live by the sacred way, which is what Anishinaabe means. It means those who live by the sacred way. It's sacred way is everybody is equal. You like that idea? Everybody is equal. That's the sacred way. So the Anishinaabe were the Ottawa, or Adawa, however you want to say that.
Adawa.
The Potawatomi.
The Potawatomi.
Potawatomi. And the third one is the Ojibwe. You say Ojibwe? Now, Ojibwe, when English-speaking people heard it, you know what they said? Chipaway. Because that's what they thought they heard.
Ojibwe, Chipaway.
Yeah. So you hear with English-speaking ears. Did you know that? You talk English, but you hear English. And so sometimes you get things wrong. You understand? So the actual word for the city.
Yeah, how did we get things wrong when we named Chicago?
It is, in fact, Zhigagong.
Zhigagong.
Can you say that? Zhig.
Let's all do it together.
Zhigagong.
Zhigagong.
Got it? In the end, in our language, you don't put a glottal stop into your throat. So the French heard it and said, Chicago. But the word is actually Zhigagong.
Zhigagong.
So they speak, the Annishinaabe language is clicks and stops, glottal stops. Like in Arabic, you say la, no, you say la. That's a glottal stop. La. Anybody know what la means in Arabic? It means no. Okay.
And here in Zhigagong, we live near a lake.
Yes. Gami.
Gami. That means
Lake.
lake. Gami.
And the word for big, can anybody guess what it is? Since Gami is lake, and we live by Lake Michigan, what's the word for big? Mishi. Okay?
Mishi.
So if you live by the big lake, you live by Mishi, Gami. And when you say that in Anishinaabe, you are saying, I live by the big lake.
Let's say it together. Mishi Gami.
Mishi, Gami? Okay, that's the word.
And there's other big lakes in our region of the country.
Yes, there's a lake that we call Lake Superior. The native word was Gitchi Gami.
Gitchi Gami.
Gitchi means great. So if you live by the Great Lake, you're living by Lake Superior. Can you say Gitchi Gami?
Gitchi Gami.
That's the Great Lake.
And there's a river that runs through these parts.
Now you see how it goes, right? You guys see how it goes now, right? Okay, so Zepe
Zepe.
Zepe, you got that? Zepe is river. So the Chicago River would be Zhigagong Zepe.
Zhigagong Zepe.
And the name for father is Mise.
Mise.
So what's the father river? How would you say father river?
Any guesses?
You got Mise for father, Zepe for river.
Mise Zepe. Wow, that sounds familiar.
So what river is the Mise Zepe?
The Mississippi.
Because we hear it in English, so we're going to say not Mise Zepe, but over time we're going to say
Mise Zepe. Now, thank you so much for telling us about those words, Dr. John Rice. How would I introduce myself?
What?
How would I introduce myself to someone?
Yeah, that's a good one. Introducing myself to a person. All right, so I would say the sound that calls my name, I would hit my heart, and I would say mean. Mean John. Mean John. Can you do that? Mean John. What's your name?
Mean Liz. Mean Liz.
Mean Liz. Yeah. Oh, just to go along with that, with some word in sign language. This is love. Mean John. Love Elizabeth. I'd say. Mean John. Elizabeth.
There's not a word with it, it's the sign. Is it right that is there a word with the sign?
But I don't know.
Thank you.
Oh, I'll give you one more sign word. Just for your knowledge. This is always. In native sign language, that's always. One more.
Always.
One more. That's always. Can you do that? All right. And then this is a good one. Remember. Put your thumb on the back of your head.
Thumb on the back of your head.
Bring it forward to your other thumb.
Remember.
Remember. You're taking something from the back of your head and you're bringing it where you can see it.
That makes sense. Wow, thank you so much. Always more to learn. Thank you for sharing that wisdom with us, Dr. John. And with that, we will send our children to their religious education classes with our love. And I invite you to stand and warmly greet your neighbor.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Happy Sunday.
Same
Happy
to
day.
you.
Yes, thank you. The day before Indigenous Peoples Day tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Formerly Columbus Day. Good. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Barbara. Hi, Julie. Monica.
Hello.
Barbara, Sandra, Samantha. Samantha and Kyle, I don't recognize. Welcome if this is a newish experience, and welcome back if it's not. I'm Grace. Hi, Lynn.
Hi there.
Good to see you. See, we've got Julie visiting today.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Julie. Hi, Samantha. I see your face. Great. Wow. I bet you're experiencing some gorgeous leaves in Door County right now, Julie. Am I right?
Yes,
Oh,
it's beautiful.
it's
Uh,
Julie. It's
Julie,
Julie
yes.
Newman.
Yeah.
Oh, Liz. Yeah. Hi, Julie. It's Lynn.
Hi, Lynn.
Great. Well,
Long time no see.
long time. Well, we're getting some good Native American language instruction today.
Except I couldn't hear him. Could
Ah,
Could you?
Mm-hmm.
He
Just
was
Yeah.
because,
he was faint.
yeah, the
But
mic.
you could,
Uh-huh.
yeah. I could catch one or two words, but
Mm-hmm.
well,
That's
he
good.
didn't use his microphone properly,
Mm-hmm. That's
but it was delightful.
wonderful.
The
Yeah.
sense of it,
Yeah,
of it.
absolutely.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
kids liked it.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they were engaged. Uh-huh.
Definitely.
Looks like we're wrapping up. Don't forget to mute.
Okay.
All
See you
right.
later.
Till
Bye.
later. Bye.
The good work of this church is supported entirely by the congregation, and I thank you all for the pledges that you do that make all of this possible. Today, we will be collecting an offertory that is going outside of these walls. It is for the UUA Disaster Recovery Organization. There's a lot of people in some pretty desperate circumstances out there, and if you can do a little more to help, now's the time.
Why don't you just say for the hurricane?
This world alone. There is no sickness, toil, or danger in that fair land to which I go. I'm going home to see my mother. I'm going home, no more to roam. I'm just going over Jordan. I'm just going over home. I know dark clouds will gather round me. I know my way is rough and steep. The golden fields lie just before me, where the redeemed shall ever sleep. I'm going home to see my mother. I'm going home, no more to roam. I'm just going over Jordan. I'm just going over home. I'm just going over home. I'm just going over home.
Each week we share the joys and the sorrows of the congregation, which are placed in the offering plate when you have the opportunity. Do we have joys and sorrows for this week? Okay. If anyone has joys and sorrows that they want to share, raise your hand. Adam will bring the mic down to you.
Yep, and I will hold the mic to your face. I love you all. I get enough emails. Joys and sorrows to share?
I'm just glad I can get up and get here every Sunday morning. This is
Amen to that.
Yeah, glad to see you too.
Remembering Stephanie Esparza Wood.
anyone from Zoom want to share with our live audience at all?
All right. It's fairly new. Later weeks, if you are moved to, remember that you can grab one of these little slips in the back and drop them in the collection plate with your joy and sorrow, and folks will read them for you. We're moving on to our reflection. Now, Dr. Rice told us about the Annishinaabe and how they're divided into 3 different groups. Those 3 peoples are the keepers of the trade, the Ottawa, and the keepers of the sacred fire, the Potawatomi, and the keepers of the history, the Ojibwe, or the Chippewa, as we later called them. They all make up the Anishinaabe, those who live by the sacred way. The Anishinaabe lived an egalitarian life. They didn't have hierarchy. Instead, their leaders were trained in making strong arguments, in the art of persuading people. No one told you how to live your life. Now, rather you fasted and you prayed until the Great Spirit, Gichi Manito, sent you a dream which you interpreted. And then the village, the Ognum, I think I'm pronouncing that right, I'm so sorry. The clan leader helped you achieve your way. Traditionally, the women farmed, as they were understood to be more familiar with giving birth, and the men were hunters and warriors if necessary. However, a man who refused to kill another human was not frowned on, and nor was a woman who wanted to become a warrior, who became a warrior. It was their lives, your life, you do it. They said, remember that life does not care if you live or die, but it wants you to want to live.
voices of all my care.
I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. My hands are wide open. My eyes are wide open to see what I may be. I'm listening.
This moment of silence,
I am listening.
I hear
Spirit, speak to me.
Am I on? Yeah. Did you hear that?
Try again.
Anishnae Ziheyin. Greetings in Annishinaabe. You know, you call it the fur trade, but the Annishinaabe trapped the beavers, the bears, the wolves, the foxes, the minks, the badgers. They did not they did not trade for furs. No, for them, the trade was for this. The iron needle. It changed your life. You've been using bone needles all your life to sew clothes. And the newcomers, they bring this iron. Goes through leather so much easier. Makes you able to add beads and colors to your clothing. Makes clothing fit better and warmer. Tools like iron hatchets, axes, awls, knives made homes more snug. Guns made hunting easier if you had to hunt in the cold. You hunt for your warm clothing, the bear skin, the wolf skin, fox skin. Don't eat those animals, by the way. That will kill you. Never eat an animal that hunts animals. You eat animals that eat grass or something. Unfortunately, the Western Europeans who brought the iron tools and the woven clothes that made life easier also brought deadly diseases that decimated Annishinaabe villages and towns. At one point, the Annishinaabe decided to move. They moved west. The Great Spirit, Gitche Manitou, told them to live at Mackinac Island, would be the center of their world, and they so moved. They still controlled the fur trade. But now, the people they left behind on the East Coast were the people of the rising sun. And the sunrise is Wa. So the Wabanaki are related to the Anishinaabe, the people of the sunrise. The same with the Wampanoag. They all live the same. Egalitarian, not democratic. You know, if you have if the Ogamok comes, he's a man trained in persuasion. If he comes to your village and says, it's time we have to move, and there's 100 people in the village, and 51 of them say we're moving, vote to move, and 49 vote not to move, the 51 move, and the 49 stay just where they were. There is no majority rule in the Algonquin way. This is a good way, because when you go out in the forest to fast and pray, you come back to the village and you tell them what you're going to be. They don't tell you what you're going to be. And then the village helps you achieve that. If you want to be a warrior and you're a woman, fine. If you want to be a farmer and you're a man, fine. If you want to be a Ogemaak, they'll train you. Whatever it is, it's your way. The village supports you. And then in the middle of the fall, you'll have a big game. You know, in any village, there's always people who are better at hunting, and there's people who are better at whatever they do, and they accumulate more over time, so you get inequality. And this, they don't like inequality, they have a football game in the winter with the goalposts a mile apart, and all the men put on either a brown sash or a red sash, and they go at it. One side has to score, the other side has to score. And most of the time, no one scores, but the women are on the sidelines betting, and they're betting everything. And then the women decide who won. So betting is to make sure everything that you have changes hands, so we don't have any jealousy. Would you defend that way of life? They did. They had wars against the Mayan people coming up from the south who believed in hierarchy and 1,000 men building a pyramid, taking them all their lives, and for a priest. No thanks. We don't want that. So they would fiercely fight against that. That's why the Haudenosaunee, or the Iroquois, were their enemy. The wars changed when the people came from the east, from across the ocean. The first people to come were the Vikings, and then came the Portuguese. The Portuguese were here by about 1425, preceded Columbus. Why don't you know about that? Because they were fishermen, and fishermen don't tell whether fishing is good. Next came the French, and last came the British. The Annishinaabe knew the difference between these people, played them off one against the other. By the way, they called them people of the long knives, people of the beards. It never occurred to them to call people by their skin color. Most of the world didn't associate skin color with inequality at all, so they weren't called whites. But you knew the difference between a Portuguese, a Viking, French, and a British. They also intermarried mostly with the French because the French were largely poor men sent here on purpose by Cardinal Richelieu, and he said, go over there and marry the native women and we'll have a whole new race of Frenchmen. Very French way of doing things, right? They brought the Jesuits with them, and the Jesuits honored marriage. In fact, they put it in their book, who you're married to. So none of this going around getting another woman or no denying your wife, which the other nations did. The Jesuits said, you go to hell for doing that. And these were poor, simple Frenchmen, and they believed the Jesuits. So they basically stayed faithful with their wife unless she put them out, which she had the power to do. Native in the Annishinaabe way, if a woman is tired of a man, she puts all his things outside her house, and he's got to leave. But ordinarily, the Jesuits would argue that no, he has to stay. And in fact, the Anishinaabe were honored by this faithfulness, and intermarriage, after all, yielded children which could replenish their numbers from all their children they lost to the diseases that the Western Europeans had brought. And they figured mothers determined who a child is anyway, so, you know, in those days, mother ruled the house, owned the food, and raised the children. Now, this little village here, Zhigagong, jumping ahead to 1775 when I was just a boy, the Potawatomi, the branch of the Anishinaabe that settled in Chicago, were largely mixed race with French. And there was only a dozen families here. It's not a very healthy place to live. It's a swamp, after all, beside a big lake, and it's subject to diseases, mosquitoes, etc. And then the black Frenchman came, Jean-Baptiste. Jean-Baptiste, was his name DuSable, or was he advertising his business? He put his trading post on the point of sand between the Chicago River and Lake Michigan. You know what point of sand is in French? Anybody? Pont du Sable. Is his name Jean-Baptiste Pont du Sable, or is he advertising? Now, this is a question that the British asked him when they arrested him, and we don't know what the answer was. But we accept the British version that that's his name for whatever reason. People changing their names was quite common in those days. The fluid nature of allegiance. We're all Americans now. We look and say, well, we're American. But in those days, it was not that simple. It was disputed land. But what DuSable did was he brought shirts, boots, rice, wine, knives, thimbles, tobacco, chocolate, coffee. He was your first target, And so people came from as far away as Kankakee, where most of the Potawatomi lived, were down on the Kankakee River. But they would come north and trade at DuSable's place because it was a nice place to come, and he had all the things that they now needed, like gunpowder. What's the most important thing for the native people was the iron tools, whatever they happened to be, plus the accoutrements that go with it, like gunpowder and warm drink for the winter times, coffee to get you going, chocolate from Mexico. Imagine a night at DuSable's place and it's 0 degrees outside and you just had a trade and everybody's happy with the trade. And DuSable had built 2 fireplaces, one on one side, one on the other. And you go sat by the fireplace and drank something warm and told stories. And then the half French, half Potawatomi man, Beaubien, he came over with his fiddle. He brought his 2 dogs. He had 2 dogs. One was a Labrador, which he named Le Chat, means the cat. And the other one was a wolfhound, which he named Le Petit, or the little one. That's humor. That's the Canadian French Potawatomi humor, if you see a guy very tall, you name him Shorty, He trained those dogs to bark. In the song, you say a song like, Jantalamulan, tiki tiki take, jantalamulan, take, jantalamulan, tiki tiki take, jantalamulan, woof, take. You see how you got that bark in there? And he trained the dog, and that was hilarious the first few times you do it, But imagine that kind of entertainment at night. Every village has to have a fiddler and some music. Good times that. I remember many of them. Well, war was in the wind. War is bad for business, but the fact was the British would not leave this area once the American Revolution was over. And the Yankees, now divorced from the British, wanted the British out. By the way, the British were 3 tribes, just like the Annishinaabe. And, the British actually sent smallpox to the natives in the middle of the Pontiac War to try to exterminate the tribes. And the Annishinaabe kidnapped a bunch of British soldiers and made an alliance with the Haudenosaunee. They were normal enemies, the Huron, and refused to trade in furs with the British. And the British learned very quickly, don't mess with the Annishinaabe if you don't want to lose the fur trade and everything else. And so they stopped that initiative as quickly as they started it. Of course, by then there were a couple of villages wiped out, but the Anishinaabe did not sit and take it. They did. They took the soldiers they had captured, all the officers. They took them back to Montreal and said, all right, you can have them back now as long as you behave yourselves. And that was the end of that. Not the end of diseases, mind you, but it was there was still tuberculosis and all other kinds of illnesses. But I just wanted to say that they were not victims. They had options, and they took them. But when the war came, the War of 1812 we're talking about, the Yankees prevailed. What happened then? When the Yankees prevailed here in Zhigagong in 1812, one thing that happened was that Saguenash was a British officer, half Mohawk, who had fought with the Tecumseh against the Americans, changed his name to Billy Caldwell, and became, in his own words, a hero of the American Army. He made that up. But he just switching sides, the winners. He liked the place. He thought he could stay. So Saguenash became Billy Caldwell. Monsieur Arsenault became Mr. Snow. Chem Penqua, Potawatomi Frenchman, became Alexander Robinson. Monsieur Vassieur abandoned his Potawatomi wife and 3 daughters and married an English woman. Her name was Watseka. There's a town name for her now. Watseka married a U.S. Army officer and had more children, while the local Potawatomi as a tribe were forced to leave Chicago in 1832. Why? Canal. The canal was built between the Chicago River and the Illinois River that then connected Chicago to the Mississippi. Well, what's that? Why does that mean the Potawatomi have to leave? The value of the land just went up by tenfold, and the land speculators want to control the land. How do you control the land? Land is now a commodity in the eyes of the people who run things. They want the land. In order to control the profits, you have to have all the land. Let's play on race. Get those Potawatomi out of here so we can get the land. Greed has prevailed. Land is commodity of others by jacking up the price, making a profit. Totally foreign to native indigenous thought. You don't do that. That's why the Lakota referred to these people as Waisichu, greedy ones. Interestingly enough, a lot of people stayed, which we don't talk about, Individuals of a dusky hue. That's what the word was. Dusky hue means you're mixed race. They stayed, but they lived in the shadows. Many moved to the south with the French, settled a new town, Bourbonnais. Have you heard of Bourbonnais? Settled by Monsieur Arsenault and Monsieur Lavassieur. Became a center for runaway slaves as well. Swamp on a river, Kankakee. Looked a lot like Chicago. Game was a lot like Chicago. So it was a tough time for the Potawatomi. What happened to the Potawatomi that did not renounce their tribe and stay in Chicago? See, that is a different question, isn't it? What happened to the Potawatomi? What happened to the Potawatomi that did not lose their identity and blend in by living in the shadows? It's a little bit different story than saying what happened to Potawatomi. Yes? You understand? So the nuance of the story makes it somewhat of a different story The Native people were moved, the Potawatomi tribe was moved to Nebraska and then half starved to death because the government couldn't seem to get food to them, even though it had taken away their means of living. And then the Native people in 1871, 50 years later, all treaties with the natives were considered abrogated, meaning that the Congress could break them at will. And in 1882, you know, your sentiment at this point was, oh, the poor Potawatomi, oh, the poor Native Americans. And they own all this land now. They have reservations in Kansas, Oklahoma, the Potawatomi. Here's a scheme, U.S. congressman. We could get them to sponsor a law that says, oh, those poor Potawatomi, they're being mistreated by an inefficient Bureau of Indian Affairs, and the reason they can't progress is they got all this land that they don't use. See, we got to break this land up into individual land holdings, give each family some individual land holding, then they can become farmers like the rest of us, and they'll find their way to progress. And if they don't, we could buy the land. Oh, but we won't give them any farm equipment, nor will we give them any seed, nor any instruction on how to farm. See, sentiment didn't do any Native people any good, you understand? Oh, feeling sorry for someone in this instance works in the favor of those who are cheating them, once again, of the land. And that's what happened. Native land of the Potawatomi land in Kansas was, in a matter of 15 to 20 years, 60% owned by white landowners. The Indian reservation was owned 60% by white landowners, because an individual farmer who was a native would sell his land in order to survive, because he couldn't live without making a product from it, and he didn't know how. So this is a very slick land. This law was very slick. This was the Dawes Act of 1881, which was repealed by FDR's Bureau of Indian Affairs in 1931. Since 1931, the Native people have been protected to some degree by the executive branch of the United States government. The most notable champion of the Native people across the country was Richard Nixon. He was the first who granted the Native sovereignty over their land. Think about that. When they lost the land, 1832 to 1974, when Richard Nixon granted the Native people sovereignty over their land, and that was by executive order. So each president had to, in line, agree to that, which they did for the next few presidents. In fact, I think the next 5 presidents, up until Donald Trump, who reneged on that sovereignty. It's not all tragedy, though. I want to tell you something that is interesting to me that I found out in researching. There are 20 Annishinaabe reservations in Michigan. 10 are Ojibwe, 7 are, what's the other tribe? Ojibwe, Ottawa, and 3 are Potawatomi. And there are also thousands of self-identified Native people living in Michigan. The fact is, they were never evicted. It seems that the land speculation had restraints, shall we say, and the Native people in Michigan had enough connection through families and other means to survive and prosper. So the story is not without redemption. If you go to Michigan, you see, and you want to meet some Potawatomi that never went on a trail of tears, never were evicted. There's that. And I think to sum it up, nuances in Native American history are important because they teach you about the shadows, and the shadows give you a picture. You know, you have a picture and it's all stark and black and white, but then you got to shade it, and that requires that you look at the shadows. The shadows of our life tell us more about ourselves than the black and white story. And so that's what I presented to you today. Thank you. Do I still have the mic here? My friend Bob Shalabois, who I lived with for 2 years, he was Wabanaki, and he gave me this song. I don't think it was him who gave me this song, but we lived together and we sang this song. Ashaya willow iha. Ashaya will eha will eha we I o aye we I o. Thank you.
Thank you all. This concludes our service. Coffee hour will be held in Chris Moore Parlor, and thank you for being here with us this morning.